Russia and Ukraine have completed the first stage of their latest prisoner swap. Young and badly wounded soldiers are among the first to return home. The exchange was one of the only points agreed upon by the two sides at talks in Istanbul earlier this month.
Overcome by emotions, these Ukrainian soldiers are finally home. Some of them had been in captivity since the beginning of the war, some 3 years ago.
Mum, dearest Mum, thank you for waiting for me, for being there. We'll see each other very soon. Please do not worry. Mum, I'm home. I'm back in Ukraine. Hooray! Hooray!
Celebrations were also had on the other side of the front, in Belarus, where Russian prisoners were set free and boarded a bus home.
It's very difficult to convey what I'm feeling inside right now, but I'm very happy, proud and grateful to everyone who took part in bringing us home.
Meanwhile, the war continues. Russia escalated its attacks on Ukraine in recent days, with each week bringing a new record of drones fired at the country. In Kyiv, dozens paid their respects to some of the conflict's latest victims. 3 firefighters who were killed while responding to an airstrike on the Ukrainian capital last week.
People are being killed at the front line with bombs, grenades, shells, rockets, in the rear guard as well. Not only young men, but also mothers with children, and the young, wonderful, strong people that were supposed to have a future.
Today's prisoner swap was one of the few things Russia and Ukraine managed to agree to during stalled peace talks, which have yet to bring the warring nations closer to an end of the violence.
DW's Max Zander was on hand at one of the hospitals where Ukrainian prisoners were delivered. I asked him to tell us about what he saw there.
Yes, that's correct, Brent. This happened earlier this afternoon, and from what we could see there, we were able to witness a few very heartwarming scenes, such as a woman just receiving a phone call from her husband, who had been a captive for 1.5 years. And during that phone call, she got the news that her husband was among those released. So, real moments of joy there, but also lots and lots of uncertainty at this event. You had dozens, if not hundreds, of people with billboards, with pictures and names of loved ones, mainly missing in action. They were trying to find some information about what was going on, some information about the whereabouts of their loved ones, whether or not they are still alive. These billboards, pictures they would be showing to the released POWs and try to find some kind of information there. As for the released men themselves, it's an unknown number that were released today. We saw at the facility that we were at a single bus that arrived there, but it is said that also not just young men below the age of 25, but also severely injured men were exchanged, so we can assume that they would have been brought to other medical facilities.
That was Max Zander there reporting. Speaking in London, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has warned that Russia may emerge from its war with Ukraine stronger than ever.
Putin's war machine is speeding up, not slowing down. Russia is reconstituting its forces with Chinese technology and producing more weapons faster than we thought. In terms of ammunition, Russia produces in 3 months what the whole of NATO produces in a year. And its defense industrial base is expected to roll out 1,500 tanks, 3,000 armored vehicles and 200 Iskander missiles this year alone. Russia could be ready to use military force against NATO within 5 years.
Within 5 years. All right, let's go to our correspondent, Birgit Maass. She's following the story for us from London. Birgit, good to see you. I mean, those were some very concerning, maybe disturbing words coming from the NATO Secretary General. Tell us more about what he was warning could soon face the alliance.
Yes, Brent, I was actually in the room when the Secretary General gave his speech at Chatham House, the think tank in London, and outwardly he's very friendly, smiley, but the message could not have been more sobering. And like we've already heard in the soundbite, he's really warning about Russia's capability and Russia scaling up faster than expected. He said that the Russian economy was on a war footing, and that Russia, when he was asked what's the main threat to NATO, that Russia was the main long-term threat to NATO. He was warning about the stockpiling of ammunition. He was also saying that every war starts with a stockpile of ammunition. So the message here that this is something that's very, very dangerous for NATO. And while he was welcoming peace talks between Ukraine and Russia, he said that President Trump broke the deadlock, so he gave President Trump credit for it. He also said that NATO needed to be sure that Russia would not do something like this again, like the invasion, full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
I know that he thinks that the clock is ticking for NATO. What does he want to see the alliance do immediately?
Well, one word that I found quite chilling was the word lethal. He said that while NATO remains a defense alliance, it must also be, what he said, deadly serious. And by that he means that NATO really needs to massively increase its defense spending. And that means that NATO member countries have to put in more money. He said that there is a 400% increase in air and defense missiles that he thought was necessary, and millions more of artillery shells. And when he was asked how politicians should get this message across to their voters in a time of cost of living crisis, high energy crisis, he says that was absolutely non-negotiable, and politicians must tell their voters that it's absolutely necessary. He said that hope was not a strategy, and that in order to preserve peace, NATO has to prepare for war.
All right, our correspondent Birgit Maass with the latest from London tonight. Birgit, thank you.